I am. So last week, Jesus said, I am the gate. When you introduce yourself to somebody for the first time, you often say, hi, I'm Lisa, and I am. So I could say, and I am a lecturer at university, or I could say, and I am a gardener. I like to garden. Or I am a daughter. Or I am a mother. And we tell those statements, when you say I am, you tell somebody something about yourself. When Jesus came, he was talking to people and he was saying, listen, I am, and I'm going to tell you some things. I am this, so I'm going to tell you two things. I'm going to tell you who I am and why I came. So in the I am statements, Jesus is saying to us, listen up, I'm going to tell you I am. And when I tell you I am something, I'm telling you this is who I am and this is why I came. And we're going to be thinking about that. In the Bible, there's lots and lots and lots of mentions of sheep and shepherds. There's lots of it. But being a good shepherd isn't always easy. I don't know if any of you have seen Clarkson's Farm, but we've been watching it. And it teaches you, yes, you've seen it, haven't you? It teaches you a lot about how difficult it actually is to be a farmer. We need to be really grateful for our farmers. But Jeremy Clarkson decided that he would buy some sheep. And so he did. But what you can see on these pictures here is the sheep escaping over the wall. So there's a bit that comes before this if you watch it. He's saying, this looking after sheep thing, it's dead easy. And he actually uses a drone. He doesn't have a sheepdog. And the drone flies, and he goes, it's dead easy, this, being a shepherd. Anyone can do it. And then in the background, you start to see the sheep escaping over the wall. And then he's running down the field going, sheeps, sheeps, because he realizes that actually being a shepherd is really quite tricky. In fact, in the Bible, there's lots of messages about sheep, but there's also messages about people who are not good shepherds. So people who don't do a good job. Now, if you feel comfortable, I'm going to ask you to have a very quick chat with the person next to you. If you don't feel comfortable, just say, I'd like to think about this myself, thank you. But I'm going to ask you a very quick question. The question is this: what does a good shepherd do? Have a little chat about that. I am, because I'm thinking, are they answering the question? Good to hear the conversation. I'm just looking over at Rachel and David, because when you're a teacher, those that are teachers in the room, when you ask people to discuss something, what happens in a classroom is some people are really good, okay, and you know that they're doing it, and then you see other people. They're just having a chat about the telly last night, and you know it. And I was looking at these two and thinking, are they talking about this question? I'm not sure. We're not going to come to you just in case you weren't, because we love you enough. You were. You just went slightly off topic. David went slightly. Okay. So, do you want to give us your answer? Yeah. Okay.
You asked the question. I haven't got round to your answer yet.
I said, when was the last time you felt like you were shepherded well by the Lord, instead of what does a good shepherd do?
Do you want to do the talk? You are great. Okay, and the answer was?
My answer was, I have a new job, and it's in HR. And I just said how the the way he makes me approach situations and talk to reflect him well in me.
Good. Thank you very much. I take it back. I'm very sorry and I apologise to you. Anybody else got any answers to what a good shepherd does? Any answers? Kat, have you got one? No. No, you looked like you were there. That's fine.
No.
Any answers?
Nope.
No?
We talked about the qualities of a good shepherd, that he cares about the sheep, he knows the individual sheep, he keeps them fed.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, what else did we say?
He protects them.
And protects them. Brilliant.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. So those things we're going to come on and look at. That's fine. Thanks, Tim. So really good discussion. And it's really good to think about, isn't it? What does it do? I was reading up about this when I was getting ready for today. And somebody has written on this and said, I used to think shepherds, it was a dead easy job. But actually, shepherds are tough-bodied and tough-minded. They work in a clear, coordinated plan. They coordinate the whole group of easily distracted animals. And we saw that with Jeremy Clarkson's farm. They are ready to intervene at a moment's notice to bring individuals going off the path back to safety. Far from being worry-free, the life and work of a shepherd is one of near constant vigilance. That means always watching, always looking, always thinking. So last week we heard from Chris about the gate that kept the sheep safe. And you said one of the things a good shepherd does is he keeps the sheep safe. That's one of his jobs. Ellie, do you reckon you could go over there and do me a sheep mask? That would be really, really helpful. And then I'll have a good look at it at the end. Thank you so much. So why did Jesus say, I am the good shepherd? What does he mean when he says that? Well, the thing is that not all shepherds are good. Okay, so Tim and I have been spending some of our evenings watching cookery programs, okay? So we've made our way through MasterChef, every series. We're watching the Great British Menu at the moment, making our way through that. We've been watching Bake Off, The Professionals. You're looking at me now like your life is really not very exciting, Lisa. But we've been making our way through. And doing that, we have started to pass judgment. You know, we said, they're not very good. They're not very good. They're good. They're not very good. He's promising. That one's not so promising. But actually, if you just say, I'm a cook, it doesn't actually tell anybody whether you're a good cook or a bad cook, does it? It just says you can cook. So if Jesus had just said, I'm a shepherd, he wouldn't actually have told us whether he was a good shepherd and he was going to look after his sheep or whether he was a bad shepherd. So he says, I'm a good shepherd. And actually, not everybody is a good shepherd. And some of you might have been in situations in work or even in church where those who were shepherding were not good. And sometimes that makes it really hard for us when we come to this passage to think about Jesus being a good shepherd. And if you've had those experiences, I'm really sorry, but I want to tell you that they don't reflect God. He is a good shepherd. Now, do you remember ABBA in the game? Knowing me, knowing you. I won't do that song again. But actually, verse 14 says, I'm the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. It was important for a shepherd to know their sheep, to know every single one, what their weaknesses were, if they had any sicknesses, any things that he needed to be especially aware of. We've been looking after our daughter's dog this week. She likes to eat anything that makes her sick. So, when you go on a walk, she hones in on the very thing that later on is going to make her poorly. But now we've learned that, we know what to try and keep her away from, because we've got to know that about her. I have epilepsy, and if there's flashing lights, that's really difficult for me. It's a real problem. And when I was at work, I was actually working at home, but I got a message from my deputy head this week saying, Lisa, are you in today? And I said, no, I'm working from home. He said, that's okay. It's just I've come in and there's a light flashing on the corridor. And if you were going to come in, I'm going to get someone to come and fix it straight away. He knows me. So he knows what I need to keep me well. And in just the same way, this passage, Jesus is saying, I know each of you. I know everything about you. The bits you wish that nobody knew. and I still love you, and I still want to protect you and look after you. This passage says something else as well. It talks about knowing the shepherd. And when I was looking up, I know a lot about shepherding now. So if university goes wrong, I've got an alternative career in mind. But actually, what I learned was that sheep learn to tune in to the voice of their shepherd, and they actually learn to tune everything else out. You can't check it out unless you're a shepherd, but apparently they do. Tim and I do a Bible reading at night, Lectico. I know some of you also do it. And there's a bit in it that says, where have you seen God at work today, and when have you heard his voice? And that's a really big challenge for me at the end of the day, because I often think to myself, when did I make time to listen? Because that's what you can only hear if you're listening. So I think, as I was preparing this, felt there was a real challenge for those of us that have known God for a long time. When did we last make time to just listen? What does he want to say? He's a good shepherd who knows everything about you. When did we last make time to listen? And sheep follow the shepherd. Why should we follow Jesus? Because he loved us enough to die for us. The Bible tells us in that passage that Tim read out, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. When Jesus was speaking, people would have known about shepherds and sheep, and he was making it clear to them, I'm going to be that good shepherd. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to look after you. And ultimately, I'm going to pay the only price that I can, which is to die for you, so that when I come back to life, you can be my friend forever. And if you've never heard that before or made that decision, that offer is still there. It never goes away. I always think that's amazing. We learn about it, written all this time ago, but it's still true. So I'm sorry about the corny title on this last slide, but I just couldn't resist it. What does this mean for you? Well, what could it mean? Well, it could mean, actually, the reason you're here this morning is because you need to know that you're loved and you're cared for. Maybe that hasn't been your experience, but it is the truth of what God wants. That Jesus was and still is good. And if that's not been your experience, come to him afresh. That he died so you could have a friendship with God. Some of us might need to go there for the first time. Some of us might just need to come back. That we need to listen to him. Maybe that's the challenge. I know that's the challenge for me. I don't want to get to another nighttime Bible reading and think, when did I make time to listen to God today? So maybe that's the challenge. What about following him if he's asking you to do something? Ella is going to go and cook this week. Ella's amazing. She's going to go and cook this week. There will be moments. Where is Ella? There will be moments, I'm sure, in this week where Ella is thinking, what am I doing? Like, why am I in a field, or why am I doing this for all these people? But she knows that she's been called to do that. And then the challenge that if you know all those things, you get the opportunity to tell other people, just like I've had that amazing opportunity this morning. I'm just going to ask us to pause just for a minute or two and to just think, what does this mean for me? And then I'm going to ask Rachel to do the last song. So I'm going to pray after we've had a pause. So let's just have a little pause. Don't worry if you hear the children. The good thing about being part of a sheep flock is that there are lambs, and the lambs are really important. And so if you can hear the lambs, that's really great, because it means we're a family. Okay, so I'm just going to ask us to pause, and then I'm going to pray. Father, I want to thank you. We want to thank you that Jesus is a good shepherd, that he came, that he loves us, he knows everything about us. There's nothing about us that can stop us from becoming his. I thank you that he protects us and he loves us and he wants us to listen to his voice. Father, whatever you want to speak to us out of that this morning, help us to go away and not just brush it off when we get home, but actually to think about what does that mean for me today, this week, this month, and this year. Thank you that you're always faithful and you always love us. Amen. Rach, just before you do your song, does anybody have anything they want to come and show us? Look, everybody wants to see. They love you, little lambs. Look